is that it refers to the size of her shoes, as in the lyrics, and her shoes were number 9. The number 9 represents something totally different, and what it is I will show you later in this presentation. 3. The famous vector symbol indicates a direction of travel, and here it means that something landed on the moon. 4. The fake shadow underneath the flag is the geographical location of Schrödinger crater. 5. The shield held behind the moon could mean that the moon is protected by or Earth is protected from. With number 6 we see a rather detailed but mysterious object, in what appears to be the Zeeman crater, and this primarily is the reason for Project Golden Dragon. Finally with number 7 we see a weird object in the center, and in my view this either represents the lunar South Pole, or this is a map of the Aitken Basin. The sketches drawn onto the moon's surface can be made better visible when we increase contrast and reduce gamma levels. Once we have colored in borders, we see 3 very distinct shapes, and these are unlike craters and lunar seas, which are shown as dots and stripes. I have showed you a logo drawn prior launch of the Clementine, and this logo shows lots of weird symbolism. Is someone, cryptographically, telling us that there is something on the dark side of the moon? Why else would anyone draw this? Was it because they had seen an object like this in the Zeeman crater long before the Clementine mission begun? I showed this image to an American professor and asked for his opinion. This is his response.
The shape of the strange area is fully compatible with a missing data block. To me, having worked with similar data, it looks like they ran a fairly advanced algorithm to interpolate the missing data block, but these advanced algorithms can sometimes introduce artifacts that look like artificial structures. I can certainly recognize some of these effects right in that image.
Now that is really interesting, as what this astronomer and most people do not know, or perhaps tend to forget, is that this image is not a photo but a composition. This is an official quote by the NRL. The ultraviolet and visual camera, with 5 filters, and the near-infrared camera with 6 filters, will each collect overlapping images. Each filter is used along the satellite's ground track, such that complete mapping of the lunar surface, for each of the filters of each camera, will be accomplished during the mapping operation. The high-resolution camera will make a continuous string of overlapping images. Between the 19th of February and the 22nd of April 1994, Clementine made an unknown number of film strips of the moon. Every 5 hours, 1 revolution around the moon, some 6,000 images were received at the DSPSC Mission Operations Center, which was operated by the NRL. Imagery experts had only 15 minutes to both examine and censor images before they made them accessible to scientists. There was no time for complicated obfuscations, so they used a basic technique which proved to be very successful. At the longitude and latitude of the Zeeman crater, a single scan by Clementine had a width of 5 kilometers, and a height of 2 kilometers. This image is put together from 7,590 images, and the size of the object is approximately 98 images. We know that Clementine needed 5 hours for 1 revolution, and 1 revolution means 1 continuous film strip of 6,000 images. The Zeeman smudge is 1 data block of 12 film strips, and this means 12 times 5 hours equals 60 hours. So Clementine had data transmission problems during a period of 60 hours. At one specific location where 12 film strips showed 12 missing data blocks. Okay, it is not impossible, but I consider that highly unlikely. On the 13th of February 2010, the Clementine browser version 1.5 was replaced by version 2.0, and all previously reported lunar anomalies had been removed. The NRL claims that with version 2.0 the quality of the images dramatically improved. When we compare both versions, we indeed see a difference in quality, but that has nothing to do with a higher browser version. Look at the shadows in the crater, which are different, because other film strips were used. The Zeeman anomaly did not disappear because of a better algorithm, but because they replaced images. The moon map in Clementine browser version 1.5 consisted of 170,000 images, but the number of film strips used to make this map is unknown. Until this date no one can tell for sure how many images Clementine produced. I have found 5 websites with each their own official number of images. Let us take a closer look at these sites. The first one is the Naval Research Laboratory. On this website Clementine's captured 1.8 million images, but what do we see on SputusLunarResources.com? Now that is interesting. Where the NRL mentions 1.8 million images, the civil website tells us that Clementine returned over 2.5 million images. That is a difference of 700,000 images. Did they make a mistake? Let us take a look at website number 3, named Applied Coherent Technologies, a civil company responsible for Clementine's moon mapping. The website of ACT also mentions a different figure, namely a data volume of 2 million images. Now we already have 3 websites which do not match, but it gets better. This is the website of the United States Department of Defense, and there we see a much lower figure. According to the United States military, Clementine recorded approximately 1.5 million images. Finally we pay a visit to the Missile Defense Agency, successor of the Strategic Defense Initiative Organization, who is the successor of the Ballistic Missile Defense Organization, who is the initiator of the Clementine mission. What figure do we see here? 1.5 million images. When we do a quick calculation, we see something interesting. There is a maximum deviation of 1 million images between non-military and military organizations. What was so important that a million or more images never have been made accessible to the general public? This is a photo of the mark of Neil Armstrong's moonboot. He was the first human to walk on the moon, but was he also the first visitor? Probably not, as I have found another mark. Finding the mark of this giant foot was not easy. In fact, it is completely hidden from eyesight, and to us humans it is invisible. First let us take a look at the main image. As you can see, I only use images from official sources. In this case the NASA photojournal. This is a composition picture, made by Clementine, of the south polar region of the moon. The mark was found just above the smaller Zeeman crater. This image shows the smaller Zeeman crater with enhanced contrast and brightness. The mark, clearly visible as a combination of 2 letters L, literally stands out from its surroundings, as it is much brighter. The shape is interesting as we see rather straight angles, which appear unnatural. As I have already told you, the mark is not visible to us humans, as our eyes cannot see it. That is why we need the help of image forensic software, which can substantially increase and differentiate contrast levels. For this purpose I used OptiPix Auto Contrast, but we still cannot see any of the finer details inside the mark. To reveal those details we need micro-contrast software that works on pixel level. Here we see the same image, but this time I divided the area of interest in fields and performed micro-contrast enhancement of each part. Inside the mark we see vertical, diagonal and horizontal bars, and this does not look natural, but artificial. The tracks stop outside the mark, so these bars we see are not created by the software. After a negative 2D to 3D conversion, we clearly see that this is the mark of a mechanical foot, with perfectly parallel and symmetrical running lines. Notice the size of the foot, which must be tremendous, as it is at least 4,000 meters in length, 2,000 meters wide, and the mark must be 50 meters deep. This